Somber start to the final Friday of 2024, as former Indian Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh has passed away at the age of 92. He died of age-related conditions and was admitted to Delhi's All India Institute of Medical Sciences last evening. He was Prime Minister for 2 terms under the Congress-led UPA alliance. And Lata is now joining in with more. Of course, Lata, it's a somber start to the Friday. Multiple roles that Dr. Singh played in his career. It's a big, big loss.
Yes, it is. And for me, it's particularly poignant because practically the 1991 budget of June was passed in a week after I joined journalism in Economic Times. Well, even before that, Dr. Singh was a big figure in policy-making circles. Obviously, even before he became RBI governor in 1983, he was already in various roles in policy-making circles. But that's why he was identified and brought in 1983 by Indira Gandhi. And I was a college student then, and I have got a prize from him for some elocution. He was the chief guest as the RBI governor. Those are just personal reminiscences. But Dr. Singh literally created the middle class as we know it. Through the 80s, you couldn't import television sets, air conditioners, refrigerators. You couldn't make them. You couldn't bring the parts. Big houses were prevented from making all those, consumer durables on the guise of, or on the argument that, there is a lot of poverty, so big companies should only make mother machines, machine tools. That was the logic of the time, the license Raj. In 1991, we were short of dollars to such an extent that we could only buy 3 months, 3 weeks of oil imports. And in the face of that, Dr. Singh's liberalization was the exact opposite. He scrapped all import controls. Why? Because you import and you export. So if you want a vibrant export economy, you should have the courage to allow imports. So that was the biggest contribution in 1991, completely scrapping the license Raj in the face of adversity, completely scrapping the import controls. We had import tariffs from between 200 and 300%. And Dr. Singh, along with Dr. Raja Chellaiah, who was his trusted fiscal advisor, a very great fiscal economist, they prepared a 5-year plan to bring down tariffs to 20 to 30%. I mean, look at the scale. There were, at that time, industrialists like Rahul Bajaj who said that India will get deindustrialized if you allow foreign competition. But nothing like that happened. India became an industrial power because of that. Likewise, we didn't have dollars, but what did Dr. Singh and Dr. Rangarajan? Dr. Rangarajan in 1991 was RBI governor, not 91, 92, and Manmohan Singh was finance minister. Together, they made the rupee a convertible currency. Until then, you had to buy dollars at a fixed price. They made it, a market-driven price in 2 stages. First, exporters had to give 60% at the administered price, 40% they could sell in the market. At the end of 1 year, it was entirely a convertible currency, something which China is not able to do today. We could do it thanks to men like Dr. Manmohan Singh and Rangarajan way back in 1991. And the other big contribution was the liberation of the banking sector. The bank deposit rates and lending rates were set by RBI. Both those controls were removed with Manmohan Singh as FM and Rangarajan as governor. And banks were free to set their own lending rates. So basically, if you wanted a government securities market, thank Manmohan Singh. If you have a foreign exchange market, thank Manmohan Singh. If you are able to buy televisions, make them. Make every gadget, you have to thank Manmohan Singh. So it's a slew of reforms. And then, of course, private bank licenses and, a whole host. I remember him telling us in a press conference, I went there as a cub reporter. He was speaking at the IGIDR, which was newly inaugurated. And he said, the government was putting controls on itself in terms of how much government securities it could issue. They were called the ad hocs. Until his time, the government could keep on issuing government bonds and banks had to buy them because they were all nationalized. And he explained to us, what I have done? We have put curbs on ourselves on borrowing. So, those were the brilliant times of 1991, which gave us all the subsequent markets. And, after that, India went through the roof because of FPI participation, more of Indian rich participating in the stock markets. And then his big contribution comes when he becomes PM from 2004 to 2014. I think you are old enough to remember that time. Well, at that time, all the MNREGS, when we had COVID, what did we have by way of a social net? Everything that he had put in place, an MNREGS, a Food Security Act which gave free food, or at least food at 2 rupees to a large part of India, and even the Aadhaar, originally conceptualized by his regime, when it was at that time called the National Identity Authority, then it became the UIDAI, and finally now called the Aadhaar. So we have so much to thank Dr. Manmohan Singh. I would think history would remember him as the best economic policy maker India has had, the best economic policy making prime minister. And I'm sure you're going to hear a lot of his own contemporaries who will be speaking to us. And I think they will be able to appreciate his context in India's economic history much better.
As in his own words, history will be a lot kinder to him than a lot of the media, as he said.
That's the only sentence we remember, because many of us are young enough and we just remember that 10 years ago or 15 years ago when he lost power, when the UPA lost power, this was the statement. But, his first sentence actually is when he liberalized. It's a legendary statement. The statement was, nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. So, it was Dr. Manmohan Singh who shepherded that idea into India.
That was that day, the 24th of July, 1991, that historic budget that paved the way for India's economic liberalization. Lata, thanks a lot for that poignant tribute there to Dr. Manmohan Singh.